Chapter 8. Come to Niagara Falls. For more than 150 years, people have been visiting Niagara Falls. Often, people come for their honeymoons. The more people came, the more the town of Niagara Falls tried to think up fun reasons for people to visit. In 1899, the city built a huge castle made entirely out of ice. The Ice Palace had a tower that was 55 feet high. Inside was a huge skating rink. It was decorated with colored ice and cakes made out of ice with flowers frozen inside. Admission to the Ice Palace was 60 cents. The building lasted until February, when the weather suddenly turned warm and it started to melt. Some years, the waterfalls themselves have frozen solid. That used to happen a lot until the 1950s. Sometimes, huge chunks of ice on the river would clump together, creating an ice dam or an ice bridge. Then, people could walk right across the frozen falls from America to Canada. Even in winter, tourists came from all over the world to see the falls. Once, in 1883, a man built a shack out in the middle of the frozen ice bridge. He was right on the border between the United States and Canada, so he claimed he wasn't in either country. He said that meant he didn't have to follow any laws. He sold liquor from his shack without a liquor license allowing him to do it. In 1938, the ice froze on the river again. This time, the ice jammed against the two supports of a bridge called the Honeymoon Bridge. The bridge collapsed from the weight of the ice pushing against it. No one was hurt, though, because the bridge had been closed. Everyone knew it was going to fall down. A new bridge, called the Rainbow Bridge, was built a few years later. It has a bell tower on it with a carillon. A carillon is a giant musical instrument with 55 huge bells. A person plays the bells by pressing keys and foot pedals, like the keys of a piano or an organ. When it was built, the bell tower had a small apartment for someone to live in, so they could play the bells several times each day. Now the carillon is automated. In 1953, a Hollywood movie was made about Niagara Falls. It starred a famous actress named Marilyn Monroe. In the story, a woman planned to murder her husband and have him thrown over Niagara Falls. The bell tower was used in the movie too as part of the murder plot. Today, there is a lot to see in Niagara Falls. The Maid of the Mist is one of the most popular rides. A high-speed elevator takes people down the side of the cliff to the water. There, each person is given a rain poncho with a hood. The boat takes people so close to the falls, they usually get soaking wet. Fun facts about the falls. In the 1950s and 60s, teenagers had autograph books that their friends would sign. Girls often wrote, "Yours till Niagara Falls," before they signed their names. The cereal, called shredded wheat, was first made and sold from Niagara Falls. There was a picture of the falls on the cereal box. The mist from Niagara Falls creates rainbows that can be seen even when it isn't raining. In 1969, the United States decided to stop the American Falls for a few months. Engineers built a dam to keep any water from flowing over the American side. They wanted to see what was underneath the falls to make sure it was safe for boats. They also hoped to remove some rocks so the waterfall would look more beautiful. Then they turned the falls back on. In 1931, a huge chunk of rock fell off the edge of the American Falls. It was so loud, it sounded like thunder 30 miles away. Fish travel over Niagara Falls, but even some of them can't survive the fall. About 1 out of every 10 fish dies. The Cave of the Winds is gone. It was closed up when rocks fell from the cliff and blocked the entrance. But people can walk up a long set of wooden walkways and stand very close to Bridal Veil Falls. You need more than a poncho for this trip, though. You need to wear a special pair of rubber shoes. Goat Island is open to the public too, and so is the Rainbow Bridge. Fireworks are shot into the air near the falls every week in the summer. Both the American Falls and the Canadian Falls have all kinds of activities for families. A huge Ferris wheel, nature hikes, 3D movies, a butterfly building, a giant clock made out of flowers, a lookout tower, aquariums, gardens, and more. But the best reason to go to Niagara is the falls themselves. It may not be the tallest waterfall in the world, but nowhere else on Earth can you see a waterfall with as much water rushing over it. It's one of America's most beautiful nature sites. And besides, if you don't hurry, Niagara Falls will be gone in about 50,000 years. What's the biggest waterfall in the world? It's hard to say which waterfall is the biggest. It depends on how you measure. Some are tall, but have only a trickle of water. Some are wide and have a ton of water flowing over them. Some are so deep in the jungle, it's hard to even measure them at all. Here's a list of 5 of the most amazing waterfalls in the world. 1. Victoria Falls in Africa on the border of Zambia and Zimbabwe. Not the tallest or the widest, but this waterfall is considered the biggest in the world because it has the biggest curtain of falling water. At 354 feet tall, it's twice as tall as Niagara. It's also more than a mile wide. Number 2, Niagara Falls in the U.S. and Canada. More water flows over Niagara than any other tall waterfall, twice as much as Victoria Falls. Number 3, Iguazu Falls on the border of Brazil and Argentina. This waterfall is actually a bunch of smaller falls, 275 in all. Together, they are almost 2 miles wide. Number 4, Angel Falls in Venezuela. One of the tallest in the world at 3,212 feet. This waterfall lies deep in the rainforest. Number 5, Yosemite Falls in California. One of the tallest waterfalls in the world. It's 2,425 feet tall, almost half a mile high.